Okay, so the last one didn't work out too well, and I want to make sure that you guys are able to see the slides. So we're back again with how to get your CDL for free, another video or another webinar, and we're going to do it right this time. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and this time you're going to actually see the slides, promise. So here we go. All right. So now we're in the full screen, and this is the Get My CDL, my free CDL webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. So the benefits of this webinar. In this webinar, you learn the 5+ ways to get your CDL for free. You'll learn how to qualify for CDL grants and sponsorships. You'll also learn how to choose the right school after you're awarded your grant or sponsorship, and also how to find the right company to start at, and how to make money in trucking. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. All right, so what I want you to take away from this class is to use whatever you take away from the class, go ahead and use the hashtag free CDL class, and make sure you watch this until the end. And also, if you're on YouTube right now, go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. So my name is Chris, and I'm going to just double check real quick. Just give me 1 second. I want to make sure everything's going well. All right. Yes, everything is going well. Great. So my name is Chris, and I started my trucking journey in 2017 and received my CDL in February 2017. The reason I made this is because a lot of people inbox me and they ask me questions about getting their CDL and the process and the journey. Is it hard? I don't know what to do. I've actually helped several people online and offline through my YouTube channel, and people that I know who have hit me up who are interested in getting into the industry. So I've never thought about actually making a course or making a webinar to actually teach people kind of what they're asking, right? What they want to know. People actually want to know these things. So I started my trucking journey the same way everybody else started out. I went to trucking school, and then I got hired at Stevens Transport as a company driver. I leased 2 trucks from Stevens Transport. I also trained new drivers. I made my first $100,000 in trucking. 90,000 of that was at Stevens Transport in the first 9 months of 2018. So for the rest of the 3 months, I did go ahead and clear that 100,000. So like I said, now my goal is to help as many people as I can. So let's go ahead and move on. So these are the top 5 ways to get your CDL for free. The first one is Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, called WIOA, W-I-O-A. The next one is Vocational Rehabilitation, formerly known as DARS TRC. Also Goodwill, the local unemployment office, and through trucking companies. All 5 of these are ways to get your CDL for free. Well, I guess the last one is kind of sorta, right? But we'll get into that. Just to let you guys know a little bit more about me, I did start my trucking journey off. Oh, too many slides. I started it off kind of using one of these programs, right? So that's why I wanted to talk about these programs a little bit more. And it really helped me. I wasn't able to Well, I was able to start my career off without being in debt. After already being $20,000 in debt, in student loan debt, I didn't want to incur any more debt to add on top of that. So these programs help me do that, and I want to help as many people as I can do the same thing because these steps that I took to do this, um, anyone can do these. So it's very easy. Well, it's not easy, but it's simple. It's simple. So we already talked about these. So let's talk about WIOA, WIOA, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. So it was signed into law July 22nd, 2014 by Barack Obama. It was designed to help job seekers access employment, education, training, and support services to succeed in the labor market and to match them with employers um, so that they could compete in the global economy. It is a state and local boards must coordinate and align workforce programs to provide coordinated, complementary, and consistent services to job seekers and employers. So every state has a workforce. Um, in Texas, it's called the TWC, which stands for Texas Workforce Solutions. I know that's TWS is the acronym, but that's what it's called, TWC. So with TWC, how do you find TWC, right? Like I said, it's federal law, so it's in every state. Here's the link that you can use on doleta.gov. They have a map where you can check and see where the office is, your workforce office is. Like I said, in Texas is Workforce Solutions. Every week they have an orientation and they discuss the training programs that they offer. So you can call and get the date of orientation so that you can attend. I think they do walk-ins as well, but I think it's better to do some research before you actually go in and talk to them. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. This is the vocational rehabilitation services. So vocational rehabilitation, or VR, is a program that provides vocational and rehabilitative services to individuals with disabilities to help them prepare for secure, regain, or retain employment. To be eligible for these services, you have to have a physical or a mental impairment. And it has to be a substantial impediment to your employment. So that would be something like depression, anxiety. Um, what else would be like a back injury, a leg injury? Even if you haven't been diagnosed with any of these impairments, they actually can send you to be evaluated to establish a disability. So you could also qualify for this program if you have a disability of deaf and hard of hearing. So there's a lot of ways that you can go ahead and qualify for this. So priority is given to the individual who has the most significant disability, but don't let that discourage you because they are given a set amount of money and they have to spend all of that money. So it's always good to go ahead and see if you do qualify. And this is the website down here at the bottom, the dds.dc.gov, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Goodwill is also a resource. It's a community resource. Goodwill is a 501 profit entity. They help people reach their full potential through education and skills training. Some Goodwills do have job training centers where you can get a CDL. Where I live in Texas, in Fort Worth, there is a job training center that Goodwill offers grants to assist you in getting your CDL. I left the website down here at the bottom so you can go ahead and see and check and see if your local Goodwill does offer that. And if they do, I would go ahead and see if you do qualify. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. This is the local unemployment office. So American Job Centers is a great resource. Also, workers' comp They also help you with job training. They have a list of federal employment and training programs. So if you do go to this careeronestop.org, they have a list of like a bunch of federal employment and training programs, including the ones that I have listed, like WIOA, and many more. So if none of these that I mentioned are helping you, like definitely visit this website because there's a plethora of resources out there that I feel like people need to know about. This is the helpline if you want to call that number and just see like where the closest place to you that offers job training so that you can go ahead and take advantage of that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So also trucking companies. So this is when I was talking about like some of them are free and this one's free to an extent, right? You don't have to have money to get your CDL with when you're sponsored by a mega trucking company. And what they do is they give you a contract and you'll have to work for them for a year. If they get you to get your CDL and you're successful, you drive for them for a year to pay that debt off. So I would Google companies near you and call and ask around and see kind of how much it would be if you would so happen to not be able to pay that off. And I would ask them kind of just if they pay orientation, like if they pay during orientation and things like that. But this would definitely be like a last resort option. Like I said, the company I worked for was Stevens Transport, and they're like a huge training school. They're big on training, and like paying out of pocket to get your CDL should be like no more than $3,000. But when you are getting a sponsorship and say you renege on that sponsorship, you may have to pay up to $7,000. And if you're not able to pay it, it could affect your credit. So, like I said, you have to sign a 1 year contract to pay off your debt with them. And if you don't pay it, it will affect your credit. So, you don't want to start out in debt and have no say kind of whatsoever. So, what that means is when you're starting out, a lot of people don't have a lot of money when you're starting out. So, that's why they kind of go for things like this. But that's also why I'm presenting this webinar so that you don't have to go for that last resort. I want to let you know that there are tons of options out there for you. And this is the last resort because once you sign on with that company and you're driving for them, they can pretty much have you do or go anywhere like that they want you to go. It's kind of like they call it forced dispatch, right? So you're forced to be dispatched wherever they choose you to go. So you don't like driving in mountains. You don't like driving in snow. You don't want to go to Alaska. You can't say no, right? Because you owe them a set amount of money and you have to get that paid off. So that's what I mean by you have no say. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So I want to give you guys some homework. USA.gov is a great resource. You can go into that website and you can see what the requirements are to get your CDL in your state because I'm more than positive they're different than the ones in mine. They may have some similarities, but not all states have the same qualifications or requirements to get your CDL. Like some may require more training, some may have an age limit that others don't have, right? So I'm just throwing things out there that, you know what I'm saying, might be. No, I'm not saying that they are, but there are different requirements for every state. So I want you to do your research and see what would be the best option for you in your situation. I provided 5 resources to where you can get your CDL and you don't have to come, well, out of pocket immediately for, remember that last one when you have to get a sponsor. So you don't have to come out of pocket. But also think about this. If you're not able to, these are employment um, programs, right? So the end result should be the same for everyone in going for these programs, and that's to get employment. That's to get a job. So if you're not able to get a job, then they may send you a bill, right? So make sure you understand what your options are. Also, I would say start calling some of these trucking companies and get an idea of the industry, what they haul, what type of equipment they use, if they pay for orientation, what type of home time you can think about getting and getting back to see your family. So go ahead and make sure you are doing some research. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So you still have to work for it. Like I said, just because it's free does not mean that it's easy. You do actually have to get a job for some of these programs, so check the details. We talked about that. Some places only give out so many grants and have so much funding. So I suggest that you take this very seriously because you could be stopping someone who is really trying to better themselves from actually getting um, sponsored or getting a grant or something like that. So I would take things like this into deep consideration and see if it's something that you really want to do. I've had guys in my truck who have went through training. They've already signed the contract to be sponsored, and we'll pull up to a truck stop and they're like, I can't do it. I can't take this anymore. And they'll get out, get a cab, and go to the nearest airport and go home. Right? But that debt is following them. They still have to pay that off. So you really need to think about if this is something for you. So is it worth the effort? Trucking is definitely a growing industry. There is a huge demand for drivers, especially experienced drivers. But you can go to Craigslist, you can go to Indeed.com, and you'll see if you type in trucking jobs, there will be like so many jobs that pull up that are looking for drivers. It's hard to find really the biggest thing in trucking is finding good drivers. So if you have a clean motor vehicle record, if you are, you know what I'm saying, you have great time management, if you if you are really serious about this, even if you have a felony, like there are companies that are willing to hire you as long as you can prove that you're willing to do the job and you're not here to mess around. You're very um, hireable. Like people will hire you. So this is just the start. Like I said, I started out as a company driver with Stevens. Even before I went to Stevens, I started out going to trucking school. I had my car repoed, and I would have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to take two trains one to Dallas, next to Oak Cliff, to get to class by 7 o'clock. I would leave class at 5, and then I would take two trains back home and get home at 7. So my days were long, and I just knew that if I worked hard and I like stayed committed to it, that like doors would open up for me. And that's like I learned how to train at Stevens Transport, and I began training drivers, and it helped me make more money being a trainer because I got paid for my miles and I got paid for my students' miles. When I got out of the truck, because there were some things that went on at Stevens Transport that affected my pay, I got out of the truck and came home and I drove local because I had the experience that these companies wanted. I had a clean motor vehicle record. I had a lot of things going for me, right? So that's what companies are looking for. So they hired me locally. And I didn't mention, I did mention, but the first 90,000 was at Stevens, then the rest I did locally, right? I stopped working locally. I opened up a freight brokerage firm. I opened up a dispatch firm, and I also started a local transportation company. So all that was possible with me getting my CDL. So my CDL was like a golden ticket, and it could be that same for you if you're dedicated enough to do this. A lot of people think they are. A lot of people think they're big and bad, but once they get over the road and they see that they're away from their families for long periods of time, and it's not the easiest job. It's you're out in the element, you're doing things that are very dangerous, but if you're up to the task, it is very rewarding for you. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. The ultimate guide to getting your CDL is a course that I have made for people who were like myself when I first started, who didn't have a clue about anything in the industry. I didn't know how to read a map. I didn't know how to read highway signs. I didn't know that um, odd numbers are north and south, and even numbers are east and west on a map. I didn't know anything about trucking equipment and tools and the different types of trucks and trailers. I had no clue about any of that. I didn't know how to budget. I didn't know how to make any money out here. I just thought like I could do it. And surprisingly, like I held on long enough by the skin of my teeth. I made it and I made $100,000. And I made this guide to show you how to do exactly that. So if you're interested, I will leave links in the description so that you can check that out. I will also have a discount code for $100 off the course. So make sure you do check that out. So let's go back to this, and I want to talk to you guys. I really hope your screen sharing is any type of. Oh my gosh, I really hope that it did it this time. Do I have to do this one more time? I have no clue. Let me see. Do I really have to do this again? Y'all, please tell me I don't have to do this again. Okay. I think everybody saw it. I think you guys saw everything that happened. Please let me know. Hey, T. Evans, homie, please tell me you're here and tell me you saw this whole webinar and you saw everything. I really hope that you did, because I worked really hard on this. Let's see. So let me show you guys. Okay, good, awesome. I'm looking at it now. Let me show you guys the ultimate guide to getting your CDL really quick. We'll go over that just so you can know what kind of what's in it. I know I talked about it, but I do want to show you. So let me go ahead and go to that. I also made a book. I created a book, and it's a financial planner for truckers. See the financial planner. It's on Amazon, and what that book does, it shows you how to plan your trips so you can track everything. And that's how I made like held on to so much money, right? I was able to um, retain a lot of my funds in trucking because I was able to learn how to budget, and I was able to learn how to invest and things like that. So um, if you're interested in that, that is on Amazon.com. But this is the ultimate guide to getting your CDL, right? So it kind of goes over who I am once again, and right, how much I made. So let's go ahead and look at that. How much did I make? So my 2018 tax return was $91,313. Like I said, I came home and I worked locally, and I made $1,000 a week for the next 3 months, which is really awesome, right? I'm not going to really get too much into this because this is the paid course. I just want to give you guys kind of a rundown of what's in here. So who is Chris? It kind of goes over, like I said, this was my first truck. It was a Peterbilt. I didn't like that because the turn radius is not that good on Peterbilts, but they are powerful trucks. Before I started trucking, that was my moving company I had. This was the Freightliner that I leased, and that was my beautiful 2019 Kenworth getting washed because I took care of my baby. But this is like really detailed. Like I said, it goes into everything that you need to know. And I explain a lot of stuff, and I have free resources. So it's not even like me showing you the slides, because this is only like the tip of the iceberg. I actually have like a free resource document, and it goes over pretty much everything you need to know about getting your CDL. It goes over the tests you need to take. It goes over like the endorsements. It goes over everything. So that course you can find, like I said, on Gumroad. And I'll leave a link in the description for that test, or for this link. Let's see, products. So like I said, right now, this is the ultimate guide to getting your CDL. And it is, let's see. Okay, this is the link for you guys. It's $100 off. I'm not gonna grab that link and put it in the description for you. In the chat, let's go ahead and put that in the chat. Okay. All right, so thank you guys again very much for coming to my webinar. Let's see if I can get back on here. Thank you so much for coming and watching this webinar. I don't know if you've already seen the first one, but this one I think was a success. I will be doing more webinars, so this is not the only one. But like I said, thank you guys for coming and showing up and showing your support. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great night. I got to go watch some Game of Thrones now.